"Pastor, we need to increase the fasting," she sobbed, her hands clinging to the rough edge of a prayer mountain rock. "Abraham still hasn't found a job. His life is wasting away. Pastor, his age is going. I am tired." The sun beat down mercilessly, but her tears kept falling. "We are not meant to be poor," she continued, her voice rising in desperation. "He is too brilliant for this suffering. God didn't give me a genius for nothing. From childhood, he has always been the light of our family. Why then is his brilliance turning to pain?" The pastor could only nod, placing a tired hand on her shoulder. She had come every week, always with new scriptures, always with new vigils and declarations. But the pain in her eyes had never changed. Her son, Abraham, the one they once called Abraham Lincoln for his wisdom and promise, was now a man the world mocked. Her cries pierced the air, mingling with the wind that carried prayers from other broken hearts on that mountain. Abraham had always been brilliant. From secondary school through university, he carried a mind so sharp that his peers called him Abraham Lincoln. Not because he had a beard or wore top hats, but because his intellect, logic, and eloquence commanded attention. He was the scholar everyone wanted to be. Teachers adored him, students envied him, and his family, especially his mother, believed he was the one who would change their fortunes. He was the future, the pride of his home, the miracle waiting to happen, but brilliance doesn't always equal success. Welcome back to the channel. If you're enjoying stories like this that challenge your thinking and inspire transformation, please do us a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so we can keep telling stories that change lives. Also, we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us what kind of stories you'd love to hear next. Your voice matters and could inspire the next powerful episode. Abraham graduated top of his class. But after school, life handed him a cruel twist. All the accolades, certificates, and intellect couldn't shield him from the harsh reality of unemployment and poverty. And as fate would have it, his two closest friends, Uche and Lami, were no different. They were all birds of the same feather, brilliant, jobless, and broke. Instead of encouraging one another to rise, they sat around most days reminiscing about the past, pointing fingers at the system, and sinking deeper into helplessness. The nickname that once sparkled with promise, Abraham Lincoln, became a cruel joke, a punchline for local comedians, a name mothers whispered with pity and elders used to warn their kids. Don't be like Abraham Lincoln, book smart, but life foolish. His mother, heartbroken and confused, turned to prayer. Every week she climbed prayer mountains, crying out to God. She believed her son had been cursed or bewitched. How can someone so intelligent be this helpless? She'd cry. She would talk to anyone who would listen. Neighbors, pastors, strangers passing through. Sometimes, she would even hand out copies of his certificates to community members and visiting guests, especially those from Lagos or the city, hoping they might know someone who could help. "Take this," she'd say. "You never know. Something good might come out of this." But still, nothing changed. Then came the breaking point. For months, the issue of erratic electricity supply had plagued the community. Power was barely available unless one crossed into a neighboring town. Frustration had reached its peak, forcing the hands of the elders to call a general town meeting. Unfortunately for Abraham, the news of the meeting reached him as well. Though most meetings ended in disappointment for him, he saw this as a rare opportunity, a moment to show he still had that spark, that touch of brilliance. Deep down, he craved an avenue to speak, to be seen, to matter again. What he didn't know was that this meeting would humiliate him in a way he never expected. Among the crowd was Hakeem, an old-school rival, still smug, still sharp-tongued. The same Hakeem who used to compete with Abraham for academic honors. He too had made his way into the gathering, his posture loud with self-assurance. And then the meeting began. People began voicing their concerns and offering various suggestions, some logical, some far-fetched, as to how the electricity issue could be resolved. The debate was heated but hopeful, each voice trying to outmatch the last in urgency and vision. A few minutes into the meeting, Abraham raised his hand. He was given a chance to speak. At first, there was a respectful silence as he began to speak with passion and clarity, layering his points with intellect and thoughtfulness. But as he went on, murmurs began to rise. His suggestions, though eloquent, were disconnected from practical reality. They sounded more like academic theories than workable solutions. Restlessness grew in the crowd. Then Hakeem, his old-school rival, saw a massive opportunity to strike. "Sit down, Abraham! Without the Lincoln!" he shouted, his voice sharp and mocking. "This meeting is for people who can add something tangible to the community, not just mouth and empty grammar." The field went dead silent. No one expected that. Uche and Lami jumped to their feet, anger flashing in their eyes, ready to defend their friend, but elders held them back. The insult didn't hurt because it was false. It hurt because it was true. Just then, a young woman passing by turned her head. She hadn't recognized him at first, but after someone chuckled and said, "Now Abraham Lincoln be that?" her jaw dropped. "That can't be him," she whispered. But it was. Years ago, she and Abraham had walked the university halls together. He'd helped her with assignments, given her advice, inspired her. Now he stood, dusty and defeated, silenced by poverty in front of the whole community. She walked away in disbelief. Abraham didn't cry that day. He didn't fight. He didn't respond. He simply walked home, his friends trailing behind him, still cursing the elders. That night, Abraham sat alone. Not because he wanted solitude, but because even his friends had nothing useful to say. Even in his lowest moment, instead of encouragement or reflection, they suggested taking revenge on Hakeem, physically. "Let's show him something," Uche muttered, clenching his fists. Lami agreed. "We can't let him disgrace you like that in front of everyone." But Abraham didn't respond. In truth, Uche and Lami were part of his downfall. They were enablers, echo chambers of excuses, mirrors reflecting mediocrity. They laughed when he tried to wake up early to study the markets. They discouraged him from enrolling in online courses. They dragged him to every get-rich-quick scheme they stumbled on. Their friendship had turned into a cage, and Abraham, in all his loyalty and blindness, had allowed them to keep the key. Until now. The very next day, as he paced around in silence, he received a call from that same woman who had seen him at the community meeting. She had found his number through a mutual friend. She called him Abraham Lincoln again, this time not as a mockery but with nostalgia. "You know too much to be broke. You're too intelligent to live this way," she said gently. The same words his female friend had once told him, now echoing with new weight. She hung up. 2 days later, she called back. "I've spoken to someone," she said. "He's a Forex trader, makes real money, and he's willing to train you, at a discount just because of me. Normally he charges full price, but this time, he'll let you in for half." The training cost about $100, but the young man had nothing, zero. Still, the friend said, "I'll cover half. Just find the rest." That moment was the first seed. He hustled for the other half. Got it. Enrolled. That call stirred something in him. It wasn't just encouragement. It was a reminder of who he used to be and who he could still become. But to move forward, he knew he had to make one of the hardest decisions of his life. Let go of Uche and Lami. Gradually, he began to distance himself. No more hangouts, no more excuses, no more drowning in shared pity. If he was going to rise, he couldn't keep dragging the weight of dead friendships behind him. And that's where it all began. He devoured the training, felt unstoppable, threw in the little funds he could scrape together, saw some early wins, then, boom, losses. Everything gone. But he didn't walk away. Why? Because something inside him had caught fire. It wasn't the money. It was the vision. Freedom. Financial freedom. The ability to afford the life he dreamt of. Location freedom. The ability to trade from anywhere in the world. Time freedom. The ability to control his hours, his life, his destiny. That vision burned deeper than any loss, so he stayed, bought more courses, chased mentors, consumed YouTube videos, practiced endlessly, lost more money, got back up, repeated the cycle. Years passed. By the second year, frustration had set in. He knew so much theory, but nothing clicked. So he tried to create his own strategy. Experiment 1, Experiment 2, Experiment 3. Like a scientist, he kept testing. Each new idea felt like the breakthrough. Each one failed. He began to fantasize. Maybe one day, the universe will hand me the answer in a dream. But dreams don't reward the lazy. By the fourth year, he had slowed down, stopped experimenting, stopped backtesting. He was just waiting until that morning. It was the 6th day of a new month. He sat in his mini office, staring at the whiteboard, angry, fed up. That's when it hit him. Those scientists who got answers in their sleep, Newton, Edison, Aristotle, they only got those answers because they had put in the work. They tried, failed, tried again. It wasn't magic, it was momentum. And in that moment, something snapped into place. He stood up and wrote, "From today until the end of this month, I will give 2 hours every single day to trading. No distractions, no procrastination. I will observe, experiment, and practice. Even if I find nothing, I will sit with it for 2 hours a day. Let's see what happens." That was the beginning of 2 age 30. 2 hours a day for 30 days. The first week, nothing major. A few insights here and there. The second week, he started seeing patterns he had never noticed before. By the third week, he felt clarity, confidence, like the charts were speaking to him. By the end of the month, transformation. Something had clicked. A strategy began to form. Not one copied from a mentor, but one shaped from hours of direct observation and testing. He kept going. Month 2, month 3, month 6. By the end of the year, he wasn't just a good trader, he was a standout. One of the top in his country, globally recognized. He now travels the world, running multiple businesses, mentoring others, and living the dream life. Because he did what most never will. He committed. He stayed consistent. He gave just 2 hours a day. That's the story of the 2 age 30 formula. It's not a trick. It's not magic. It's a method. It's discipline. It's mastery. What do you want to master? Playing guitar? Becoming a top chef? Mastering coding or design? Building your own business? Learning martial arts? Whatever it is, give it 2 hours a day. Just 2, not 12, not 8, just 2 focused hours a day. Do this for the next 30 days. If nothing changes, stop. But if you start seeing transformation, you'll know you've tapped into something real. If this story inspired you, please help us grow this channel by sharing this video with someone who needs it, giving it a thumbs up, dropping a comment below and telling us what you're going to commit 2 hours to. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so more people can discover powerful stories like this one. The journey to mastery begins now. 2 hours, 30 days, 2 aged 30. Let's get started. Cheers!